What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode where we finally got the one, the only, Dave Frakes, also known as Pops.
Pops is in the house.
Pops is in the house. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad to finally get to do this.
My kids have been on this, is that right?
Yeah, they were the very first episode.
Wow.
You have tough standards to stand up to
I understand. And like Shaq and a bunch of other people have been on here?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Exactly.
Good.
I mean, and your kids went all out trying to make me have the biggest train wreck, say the most messed up stuff, try to really get me riled that first episode. It's the Easter egg show, though, because for whatever reason, the video did not work.
Yeah.
So it's just audio. So it's still out there, but most people don't even mess with it because it's just audio. There's no video.
Yeah.
So we kind of hide that one out there as the Easter eggs. The
That's
Frake boys.
that's cool. That's very cool.
So how you been, Pops?
You know, it's December. It's that time of year that retailers
Go crazy.
have to have, can't wait for, and then can't wait for it to be over with. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. You get excited, you cook for a couple of days, you get your family members over, and then you realize real quick why you only spend one day a year with them.
That's very true.
You avoid killing them. You go up to ICC, and you spend the rest of the day smoking cigars and enjoying the people you really want to be around.
Yeah, as long as you're not
saying that
leave your
family
wife at home and let her stay with them, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, when you get home, you're in trouble.
Yeah, when you get back home, it's trouble.
But there's a lot of peace and quiet.
Yeah,
Peace and quiet sandwich in the middle of that. No, so how are you enjoying being in the podcast world?
I absolutely love it. Thanks to you guys got me addicted to something that I never knew I was actually going to do or really enjoy. And I've told this story a few times on here. So I tried to do a blog, and I write a lot in the mornings. And what I did was I tried to do a blog about, and it was common sense construction. And I was just too critical of my writing and trying to put out an article once a week, like a podcast. I couldn't consistently do it because I'd either write something and then I'd scrap it and be like, this isn't good enough, or I wasn't clear enough, I'm not getting my point across, or I'm all over the place, and it wasn't something I could stick with. So I just kind of scrapped it for a while, and I just kept kind of coming back to that idea in a sense. Mm. But then when I got accepted back to the Atabay Lounge, and then you guys had me on the show, it clicked. And I was like, I have no problem being in front of a camera.
Yeah, there's obviously no structure.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because Ron Hancock and those guys do a show called Tales of the Lounge. Mm-hmm. And they do prep. And they research companies and all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
We do that too.
Their show's very structured. You do that too?
Yeah. It's not, I'm trying to leave it a little unstructured just because of the multitude of guests I have on here.
Yeah.
And trying to keep a good variance and letting the show organically become what it's going to become. Yeah. So I don't do that as much but I do research on all the guests. Some are easier than others. You know, obviously some I have better relationships with, or I know, or I've known for longer. So some shows like this show, I didn't have to do a lot. I mean,
a lot of my records are sealed. Yeah, and you know my
I think you'll be surprised.
Parole officer doesn't really want me telling a lot of what happened because I swore that I would bury those sons of bitches. Yeah. So it's coming to you. Yeah. I'm just talking to the Madoff family. It's coming. So.
We got a few for you. I think before the show's over.
Oh, okay, good. Well, you've had my kids in to tell every tattle that they've ever done.
Yeah, and they didn't hesitate when I called asking for juicy info.
No, and as you'll know with all my kids, the apple is leaning up against the tree. It's not that it fell far away. It's leaning up against the tree. So.
Yeah, your side of the family genes are definitely strong.
It's
I've never seen a picture of Mom, but
well, yeah, if you've spent any time in post offices, you've probably seen it. That's the ex-mom, right?
Yeah, the ex-mom.
My current wife is extremely normal and extremely perfect, and but yeah, I've made my mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, those of you that know Begley,
can't call them all if you same as picking fantasy teams. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, let's kick it off. Most of these people are going to know you from ICC, but let's tell a little bit about your background, because ICC, we kind of went into this on that very first show. The boys wanted to do this for you to get you to retire.
Yeah, they
Which
suck.
you still haven't retired,
No,
so
they
I'm not
suck
sure
at
what that
it.
plan is.
They
But
suck at that.
I think it was funny to hear in the story that them stealing your cigars and you catching them and then sitting down and sharing a cigar with them is what spawned ICC being ICC today.
Yeah, I remember it. I can smell it. I can see the walk out to the hot tub at my house, and we first moved down here in Carrollton. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. There's actually 2 Nebraskans in this room of 3, which is why the IQ is screaming through the roof. Buck 80.
Yeah, it's one-sided over here.
You can feel the table vibrating. It's so smart right now.
Coming from Busy, the dude that is so beautiful that he can't even be on this show.
I am the voice in your ear.
Or people would be crashing their cars.
I am.
Because he's got that magic voice, though.
Nah,
Yeah,
I am your subconscious.
And last week we couldn't put him on the camera because he was
Death.
about to die in the corner over there.
Oh, that's I
But he was a
understand
trooper, man. He survived.
He started. I could feel the sweat pouring off his head when we were asking him to do the show last week when we had conflicts.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
He was like, not.
And they
in a good
laughed
place.
at me the whole time.
He
'cause I
barely
went
made
through
it.
a whole box of Kleenex, half a bottle of NyQuil. And I had more drugs in me than CVS.
Yeah, he legit did, but he was a trooper. He came in and was going to do the show and set up his stuff and run. And then both of us kind of found out that wasn't going to happen. No. Our superhero assistance was needed elsewhere, so we had to stick
Thank
around.
God.
And Biz and I were up here for about 5 hours straight, just yapping.
Yeah. That's well.
It's
so
a good time. You can't. We can jump into that a little bit. You and I've talked about this since then. There's not many lounges that you can walk in and spend that kind of time with an owner of a major cigar brand.
No,
And that
it
happens
doesn't.
regularly around here.
Constantly. I mean, you think about the relationship that we have with these brand owners. It's incredible. I mean, we have a group of brand owners, starting with Nelson Alfonso, the owner of Atabay and Byron, and Alfonso. We have Oliver Nichols that was just here last week with German Engineered Cigars. We have Darren Chaffee from Principal. We have the Hogans from Crux.
Luciano.
We have Luciano. God, I just love Luciano because I love learning about cigars. And once you get to a certain level, you got to get somebody that is Yoda beyond that. And that's him. And, but to have brand owners that, and let's not forget Pablo Richard from Patoro. Been here twice this year from Switzerland.
Yeah.
Oliver flew in from Germany. Nelson flew in from Spain. Luciano is, sometimes in Spain, sometimes he's in Nicaragua. But the dude flew here on my birthday on a challenge to just shock me. And then to watch these guys just plant themselves in the culture and be engulfed by it. And how cool is it to sit with somebody that you put up here and you find out that they're sitting down here on the same seat you are, and they don't want any special treatment. They're excited that you're excited about what they do.
It's happened more
There's
times.
nothing like that.
Yeah, and it's happened more times than not that I don't even know who I'm sitting by. That I just came in to hang out. And I'm
from
talking
Definition.
before I even got in the private lounge. I could just be hanging out in the public lounge, and I sat and talked to Jamon, Oliver, you name it. I mean, I haven't got to meet Luciano yet. I was really upset. That was my wife's big birthday. You guys are same week, so I missed that one. But yeah, it's happened it happens constantly that you never know who you're sitting next to in this lounge. And if you just treat people like normal human beings and have a conversation, you end up finding out, holy shit, not only am I... And I've had really good timing. I've actually been smoking the right cigar most of the time when they sit down next to me. Not that any of these guys actually care.
They use coming into the shop as an opportunity to smoke other cigars.
And see what you're smoking.
See what people are smoking, what they like. You know, if you look at what's on this table, you have Principal and you have the Grand Habano 20th anniversary. We're smoking the house stick, which has an extra 2 years of age on it. This cigar is spectacular, but everything is right down the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that the industry gives you kind of a head fake, making you believe that the stuff that Roma Craft and that Dunbarton and some of these guys are doing in Espinosa in the stronger realm, because you have a few vocal people in social media chasing their stuff.
Yeah.
The other manufacturers are starting to think, oh my God, maybe there's something going on here. Maybe we're missing the boat. But the simple fact of the matter is, at least 85 to maybe 90% of the people that come in and buy cigars, and we sell over 100,000 cigars a year, buy this. They buy right down the middle. They buy something that's comfortable, that doesn't assault their palate, that pairs well with their spirits, that's relaxing. There's a few idiots out there that are chasing this nicotine kick in the face that I don't get it. I don't get it. Therefore, I don't carry it. Yeah. We've had it in the past. And Tatuaje, Roma Craft, Espinosa, 3 extremely good brands. Extremely high quality products. Didn't sell.
They sold to me.
They try once, but it's one and done, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even realize I'd done it because when I moved lockers and I just started putting stuff in lockers. And I have this bad habit of buying things and like setting them back there and being like almost like they need to age or something, what they don't. It's just more that I forget about them, or it's access and ease. I'll just go grab another stick. This is the first stick I ever smoked up here. I take that back. First stick I ever got from here was the Frankie Blue Eyes,
right?
Where you and I talked trash to each other, which I got to bring that up in a little bit. My wife thinks that's still one of the funniest stories. I came in and got those Frankie Blue Eyes after watching you guys do a Saturday at the shop. You released them. I didn't get the bottle package that Someone Say Whiskey did. I just came in and got the extra sticks, and that was one of my favorite sticks. And you guys were like, hey, you got to smoke these house sticks. And that's kind of where my in-depth journey to cigars began. Because I look at it as you guys almost have 3 sections to your humidor. You have the Pops and Brandon smoke this. And then you have the Nate and Andrew like this. And then you have, these are the other things we also carry.
Yeah. That we have to carry.
That you have to carry.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it like that. And I found that my palate aligns almost exactly with yours. Brandon and I are pretty damn close. Andrew, if I'm in the right mood, or Nate, I can hang with them, but I got to be ready for something that is a little more of a kick in the face.
Yeah.
I don't like pepper. I think that's the biggest thing with the how do you say that? Tatuaje. So I bought a box of the Monsters, and it just looked cool. It was like one of those, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy these. They just came out, stuck it in my locker. I opened it, looked at them, stuck it in my locker. Well, then, I guess, sometime after that, I bought another box of them. And opened it, pulled one out, smoked it, didn't care for it because it was straight pepper. I mean, it was like smoking a cigarette and a cigar at the same time. Oh. And it was too much for me. I've tried a few others, but I still kick myself because I've got almost 2 boxes of those things, and like I've found one. The one that has the more silver band on it is about the only one so far I've enjoyed that just hasn't been overloaded. But when we were talking about the Frankies, I don't know if you'll even remember this. You probably will, though, because you have an amazing memory for such an old guy.
That's so shocking.
When during COVID, when COVID first started, and I'd come up here, I'd been in the lounge once just to buy some sticks. I got some house sticks. And then you guys, I was watching on a Saturday morning. I'm sitting with the laptop at the kitchen table, and I don't have earbuds in or anything. I mean, I'm just listening to y'all talk, and y'all are doing the Frankie release. Well, I made some joke about Nebraska. You had no idea who I was, and you just gave me the business right back. And my wife is cooking breakfast, and she literally goes, who's this random dude just talking shit to you? Because she didn't see that I was typing. You know, like, I started the fight. Like,
Yeah.
I brought it to you guys. It was like talking shit like I always do. And I was just giving some business out. And, man, you jumped on it. Like, there was a whole bunch of other things. But when you saw that, you jumped on me right away. And you said something, like, without knowing me, was so on point at that point in time. And just kind of hammered me. And my wife was dumbfounded. She's like, are you going to let this guy just talk shit to you? Like, it's on the web and stuff. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I was talking shit to him.
Yeah, you're stoking the fire.
Yeah, I was like, I'm over here being a keyboard maniac over here, just giving him the business, and he just gave back to me. I was like, touche, that was good. Like, and then when she finally met you, when I became a member up here, like, 'cause she always talks about that. She thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. She's like, oh yeah, I forget about that. That was that guy that was talking shit about you on the internet.
Well, by the way, you definitely outkicked your coverage with your wife. She is really, really a nice person.
Thank you.
I don't know what you said or what you pay, but nice job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. She thinks the world of you guys. You guys, that was an amazing thing you guys did, opening up your house at Thanksgiving for all the people up here. Surprised more people didn't take advantage of that, but man,
that was a perfect night.
It was so
the
great.
weather was absolutely perfect. Remember that? It was just
good people. Yeah, it was supposed to rain. It held off.
Yeah, exactly. And just
It was still
eating
cool.
outside underneath the lights, and the food was great, and smoking the cigars. And then you guys apparently found some tequila or something. The next thing you know, you're playing, air guitars and.
There was only one person playing air guitar, and I don't think he should ever do that again.
Yeah.
But he's an expert air guitarist. I'll give him that.
Well,
Like he I think has reached levels of unfound glory at air guitar, and I'll bet you if Rock Band was still a thing, I'll bet you he's probably pretty solid at that too.
That's a pretty solid ash. I'm just saying.
Oh, you're doing this thing now too?
I'm just saying that it's a pretty solid.
Is this
ash.
a new thing? Like, am I missing this? Like,
No,
because Oliver, I've seen Oliver doing this now.
This is a construction thing. This is your podcast starts with construction, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here just shaking, and I've created a
Now
leaning
you can't
tower.
do it again.
What is that in construction when you go back and touch things up and then the building falls over?
That's
Oops.
a disaster.
They just call that oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big oops.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people know your history on here, and you've done.
Who's your audience, by the way? I mean, clearly if you have guys like Shaq and everybody on here, you're pulling in outside people.
Yeah, I mean,
Has Shaq been on yet?
No, Shaq hasn't been on. I mean, I'm waiting for you.
He is on everything.
I know. You said you were going to be able to hook that up, so I'm still waiting on you to make that connection.
Shaq, get your ass over here. I'm surprised we don't have him like on the homepage of our website. He's on everybody else's homepage.
I mean, I have you guys, and I mean, I had Rodney on last week. I have you guys to thank for a lot of this. I mean, a lot of the people I've met is, and I encourage people to do this because I said this before. At the time, I was thinking of joining a golf club, like and becoming a member at a golf club.
Yeah, that would have been such a waste because I've seen you play.
Yeah.
And I just know you'd be really driving home, really upset at yourself going,
Here we go.
I spent that much money to go hit that many houses.
And it begins.
It'd be brutal.
And it begins.
I mean, like I pay money to go golf with Pops and listen to him talk this kind of shit to me while I'm struggling on the golf course. It's even worse when Andrew's there. Yeah, Andrew's like, don't worry, you just need a few more lessons. Like, well, you know, we can work this out.
Yeah.
Or then he'll tell me like, yeah, there's no fixing that. Like, you're worse than KO. You know.
Oh
like,
no.
You know, he'll throw something out like me.
No, I know KO's. He's too bougie to watch this, so we could talk about him.
Yeah.
But no, there are a few that reach his level.
Yeah, and then he comes in here telling me how he's shot in the 80s, and I just like chuckle to myself.
He's a math major.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this cigar thing from the ownership side for everybody? I've just noticed now that cigars have I've been calling it the renaissance. Everybody either wants a cigar or they want to open a shop. And I just, after being here, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been to some dope cigar lounges and shops, impeccable service, the experience was there. And then I've been, including Las Vegas, I've been to a place just at a bar, decided to put a humidor in there, and it's cigars. So even for somebody listening that ever thought about if they're in a small town, midtown USA, they want to open cigars, do you think this is for just anybody to get into?
Not unless if they don't have a skill set for business, for inventory and understanding inventory turns, for merchandising, if they don't have a passion for marketing, if they don't have those things that are happening behind the door, you can't sell enough cigars because there's not enough profit. There's not enough margin in cigars. It's a very low margin business. It's not a 2-cent cup of coffee at Starbucks that they sell for $6. So you can make a lot of mistakes with that. This business, the margins are tight. It's fickle. Supply chain consistency. This is raw organic material that has to grow, and then they have to have a factory that all the rollers decide not to leave just because.
Yeah.
So there's all this stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I think these guys with money and a desire because they like cigars, they're going to get in the cigar business. Come on in. It'd be easier. It would be better for you. I'll consult with you. Give me $100,000. I'll tell you not to do it. And then you only lose $100,000 because it is an absolute challenge to do this, to have a business that 85% of your business being attacked by the internet, that gets to skirt all the sales tax. They get to skirt all of these laws. And then what most people don't understand is that the two major online stores, cigar stores, are owned by the manufacturers.
Yeah.
It's like if the only place you could buy cars was cars.com, and then you find out after the fact, goddamn, all they do is show me General Motors. Oh, General Motors owns it? Well, when they own it, they get to make all the money.
Yeah.
So you have General Cigars that's owned by a Scandinavian company. It's not even a U.S. company that owns General Cigars, that owns all these brands like Macanudo and Cohiba and all these different CAO and all these different brands. That's all prominently displayed at Cigars International and on their website. Oh, by the way, the Scandinavian company owns them all. So we're competing against that. So how do we do it? We're going to create an experience. And I always say it's like somebody's house. People either want their house clean or they're okay if it's a disaster. But you got to want to do it. You got to want to keep it clean because it takes effort. And we saw people when we came into this market and we kind of flipped it on its ear, and people are like, man, they have events there. They have brand owners there. They have parties. They take care of you. They empty your ashtray. They do all this. This place is doing it. And then some of the competitors, quote unquote competitors, they started to do it. They started to do some really cool imagery on social media. They tried to take some pictures. Some of them tried to do video, really need to stay off of video, but they tried to do videos. And that lasted about 3 weeks. And they went, shit, this is work. I still got, Bob, Jed, and Phil still the same assholes that come in here every day and smoke all our cigars and drink all my whiskey. So they just stop. Our mission since COVID started, when COVID started, we had 2,000 active customers. And our mission has been to add 1,000 active customers per year. And now since COVID, we're right now at 4,400 active customers. Active meaning they buy something every 30 to 45 days. To us, that means that we're consistently delivering that. So if you're not wired that way, now if you're a rich guy that wants to set up a really expensive lounge and do that because they like cigars, there's a couple of those that are popping up downtowns. One where the guy extremely wealthy, he likes cigars, private membership, 50 members only, but 30 of them are reserved for his friends.
Yeah.
You see where that's going. It's a country club where only my buddies get to play.
Yeah.
So when you have an environment like that, and then you go, well, I need a general manager, and I need a purchasing manager, and I need a hospitality manager, and I need all that. Thank God my kids all do that and work for way under market price.
You planned that from the beginning, right? All
clearly.
3 of them to each have their own lane.
Every business has to have 4 legs to the stool, and thank God we have 3 people that are willing to work at half of what they're worth, and an old man that doesn't pay himself. Because these rich guys are going to sit there and they're going to pay all these people this money, and they're going to go, how much money are we losing? Because there's no margin. There's no margin.
I feel like there was a lot of corporal punishment probably involved in getting all 3 of them into those lanes.
It was ironically, and this just is a tribute to them, but we made the decision to do this. The hot tub scene morphs into us spending a lot of time. For me, it was the perfect thing because I didn't know how I was going to be a dad to adults when they got out of college. So while they're in college, we get on this path, right?
Yeah.
And what happened is when the boys kind of realized this is what I like to do. Andrew's like, I kind of like this hospitality thing. Brandon was going to school for business. All the boys changed their majors or their minors to do something that would benefit the business when they got out of school. And I don't know if it was just the conversation, sitting around having a cigar, talking to the boys when they were in college, going, when you walk across the stage and you get that piece of paper when you walk across, it doesn't mean you're entitled to shit. Nobody owes you a job. At that point is when you hustle. And I think the reality that they understood, if they're going to hustle, let's hustle for ourselves, not hustle for somebody else.
Yeah.
And they kind of created their own lanes. And knock on wood, it works. Nate does what he does. Andrew does what he does. Brandon does what he does at a very, very high level. I'm going to say better. Find me a better marketer, a better branding person than Brandon and his team in this industry. Doesn't exist.
No, they're all trying to steal him. I mean,
yeah,
he's. What Brandon does is pretty impressive. I've been blown away. The more and more I get to know Brandon and what he's doing. I didn't even know what his company was at first, but Go Locals and seeing all this stuff come together, it's amazing.
I told some people that it's hard to believe there is world-class New York, Los Angeles, Chicago creative and production being done right here in Frisco, Texas. And they're idiots to go out and spend money, way too much money, to bring in New York firms, to bring in Chicago firms, bring in Atlanta firms. They've lost their minds. When you got Busy's talent, you got Gabe's talent, you got Brandon's talent, creativity the creativity meets somebody that can execute it.
But you guys have created a space, and I've talked about this so much. I feel like I'm an ICC brand ambassador, but what you guys have created here, as far as family and culture, and a place that is a safe environment for whatever it is you're trying to do. Like, if you want to come and just enjoy a cigar and you don't want to talk to anybody, you can do that and have the best time.
Yeah.
If you want to come and meet people and be social, you can do that. If you want to just be open to new experiences, you guys create events and stuff to pull all of that together.
And there's one other element that I don't know how it happens, but it does. And that is you just gave all the reasons why there's these different opportunities.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is, particularly as many people as walk in the door, and Biz, I'll challenge you with this too.
Uh-oh.
Why don't people, what is it about our place that people don't act the fool?
That's easy.
Because I'll tell you what, there are other cigar lounges rather close to here
Yeah.
that have had multiple fights. They have to have security guards on the weekends. And we're here for 5 years. One time I had to just walk somebody to the door and go, this probably isn't, tonight's probably not the night.
Yeah.
But very, very calm. But nobody swinging. And Biz, if you have, he talked about those pieces that make sense.
It's easy.
What is it when people walk in and they go,
It's so easy.
I think,
and we've had this place not on 10. We've had this place on 27. The last event we had.
Stop. I didn't get a
I'm sorry.
Quit rubbing it in my face.
It was
Normally
epic.
It was what Halloween's always been told me was, and like I missed this one because I was with family.
I think we outperformed any Halloween, but it's easy. It is because the bar is set, expectations are dealt out. When you walk in the room, you know ain't no bullshit. And you have a caliber of clientele that doesn't really participate in that. Even with a substantial amount of alcohol in their system, they know how to carry, execute, and the biggest word, respect.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much the same thing because I think from the time you step in the door to the time you step out of the door, you guys show and exemplify all these things. When you walk in, you are greeted immediately. I mean, whether it's, a Frakes family member or it's somebody that works here,
we got an
which
amazing
is the
staff.
same as family to them. So someone is greeting you right away. They're making sure you understand this is how the lounge works. I mean, you get a tour of the whole place if you've never been in here.
That's what sets it up right there.
Yeah.
When you walk around and get a tour of the place and you see the level of what we've been dealing with, you're like, oh, shoot, I'm cool. Or, yeah, I ain't going to act up in here because this ain't their spot.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think there's this different piece, and if we could ever figure out how to put it into words and sell it, there would be a lot of businesses,
Frakes
restaurants,
Consulting.
Yeah, something like that. But think about this. I've walked into places where I go, yeah, I don't belong in here.
Yeah.
That are just there is it's full of 1%ers, 2%ers, 5%ers, 10%. But whatever it is, when I walk in, it's like, man, I don't feel comfortable here. This is not the feeling I was looking for. I think people here, it's like they're going to a friend's backyard, but they've already been there twice. And they know I can go get a drink from the bar if I want. I know I can go get something out of the fridge if I want. They're comfortable. But it happens sooner. But I don't know how how the hell did that happen?
You and the kids do that from the moment you step in the door. That's what I was saying. From the moment you step in the door, they walk you around. And usually, like, if you walk in when Brandon's here, you're for sure going to fill this right out of the way. Now, Andrew or Nate, depends on what kind of mood they're in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, Brandon will suck you into Brandon world instantaneously. Yep. And, he'll walk you around, introduce you to people, and everybody that is here that he walks you around and introduces you, they know the game. They know, I don't say game, but like they know what this lounge is and what this house represents. And they all reflect that. They will all shake your hand. Race, religion, whatever, does not matter. All that's out the door in here the minute you walk in. It's one of the beautiful things about this place and the conversations you're able to have because of that. And you guys have created that comfort with everybody that you walk around and see all this stuff. You introduce these people, and then these people give that same back to you. If you reflect that right away, they will give that back to you. Yeah. Now, if you come in and you're clearly not a fit, I can tell you right now, you're going to go sit on that wall. You're not going to talk. You're going to
finish your cigar.
You're going to smoke half your cigar, if not, the whole thing. You're going to leave, and you might come back in, but you're just going to go in and out the front, buy your cigars, and leave.
But now let me clear something up.
But you have people as well, and I didn't realize this as much until I got back here, because you get the first little entry walkthrough of the Atabay Lounge. You don't really know or realize what all that entails. You know that it's a higher membership. You don't know that you have to be invited. You don't know that you can't buy your way into there. And I think those processes that you guys have put in place, once people start finding that out, they're like, oh, wow, there's something to work towards. You guys have put things for people to work towards. And you've shown it just enough to get people interested. And then the people start vibing and realizing the community. But then you have a good mix of people that are in the private lounge that still go out and socialize in the public lounge.
Oh, sure.
And not just at events. I've done less of that than I intended to do, but I just get caught up in some of it. It's comfortable, and I get caught up in conversations. But I have really good friends in both sides of the lounge that, if it hadn't been for this place, I wouldn't have met any of those people. I mean truly good friends, not like acquaintances, because I really separate acquaintances, business, and friendship.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I left Omaha, born and raised there. I left there when I was 48, and there were 4 people at my going away party, because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
And basically it takes 3 to get a foursome together, and then I had one other guy that was our neighbor. One guy was a football coach that I coached youth football with. But I didn't have friends. I do a party here, like my birthday party, it sells out in 10 minutes. And I'm glad, all of these people are friends. And I think about how many have been to our house to have Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving or whatever. We've always taken people that don't have family in town, have them at our place. And, that's where the friends, and I think that's what makes it unique, because as young boys, we were Garrett home, beat on the screen door. Is Garrett home? Mm-hmm. Just a minute, and yells at Garrett, and Garrett comes running down, and let's go play. That's what boys did. Let's go play. We'd find something.
Yeah.
And we were going to go play. We're going to make something happen. And then you have to take care of your family. This kind of takes us, it's kind of like why girls like to just talk. Because that's what they did ever since they were little kids, is they just talk. And they get those friends that they can just talk with. Guys don't have, is Busy home? We don't have that. That's what happens here.
Yeah, you walk in, see who's in the lounge, and you're like, oh, shit, business here. Blah,
this
blah, blah.
was the fly trap, in a sense. This is what got people that have this interest and intrigue about cigars, but this was the blue light that everybody flew to. But once you get here, that's when I think things change. They take that kind of dynamic.
But you don't even have to have that, because I look at my experience of coming here. I knew jack shit about cigars. I knew that I liked to smoke a cigar occasionally on vacation. I knew when it was wintertime, I liked to sit on my porch and smoke a cigar when it wasn't too cold and just have a cup of coffee and enjoy that. It's something that kind of just gradually kept growing on to me, except it wasn't to the point that, I bought books I never read about cigars. Honestly, I bought 3 or 4 books online, instantaneously once I started smoking cigars up here. I haven't read a single one of them.
You don't need to.
I know, right? But I come in here.
We'll give you the Cliff Notes version.
But you come in here and you're looking for a cigar. Maybe you're trying to find out. The staff is so knowledgeable and so helpful, and they don't make you feel stupid, or they talk to you, or just treat you like it doesn't really matter. I was spoiled. I've said this many times, because this is my first lounge, and now when I go to other lounges, nothing holds a stick to this. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting next to you. Yeah. I've traveled more now. I search out cigar lounges, and the experience is not the same. But when you come in, you know, I didn't have a knowledge about cigars, and hearing some of you guys talk about sizes, wrappers, binders, fillers, all this stuff. I mean, it was like someone trying to teach me a foreign language. What I did notice was there was a whole bunch of people that liked spirits. And you know what? I knew about spirits.
Right.
So
That's why I was like, you and Goodner have, like, you guys, like, got up to speed and warp speed because you sat down, and when people realized that you knew spirits and how they're made and where the juice comes from and all these things that are, you know, a foreign language to me, but people gravitate towards that knowledge. Yeah. And they, and you guys talk about this in a way that is educational as well, instead of taking the position, I know more than you do, and I'm going to make sure you know that I know more than you do.
Yeah, I looked at it as a trade-off. I was like, if I can teach you about spirits, then you're going to teach me about cigars. So I would go grab, I'd see someone drinking XYZ, and I started putting more, I had more bottles in my locker than I did cigars, especially early on, you know, and I'm like, okay, this dude's drinking this. All right, hey man, you should really try this. Like, tell me what you think about this. And he'd be like, oh man, this hit perfectly with this cigar and stuff. Have you ever smoked one of these? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And then this guy's going and getting me a cigar, and now I just traded cigar knowledge for bourbon knowledge. Yep. And that's the way it all started. I mean, and I got myself involved with the bourbon clubs, the groups here. Yep. That were doing things. And you know what? I learned so much in a really fast amount of time because
so you two literally, if you think about it, you just answered the question I asked 15 minutes ago. Is this for you? So if you don't have an establishment that emulates all the things we just spoke on for the last 15 minutes, these are the things that it takes to be in this industry. Now, I'm not saying there's people, because we know they don't do it, but to be successful, the cigar is the reason, but it takes on so much more from there. Yeah. If you think about the TV show The Walking Dead, it's not about zombies. No. It's about people dealing, they were in that situation because of zombies.
How are you going to deal with that situation?
That's a whole nother podcast. Yeah. But the cigar has brought it together, but then once your knowledge gets tapped on and you start to learn, like you said, get you up to speed, it takes on a whole nother life of its own. Now you're looking at your palate, you're bringing other people in, you're actually smoking because of your enjoyment and experience with the cigar versus I look cool with it. Mm-hmm. Versus I got a 17-inch dildo-sized cigar in my hand that is like a hot pepper sandwich and I'm trying to be cool versus something in the middle of the road that has flavor, enjoyment, and purpose. Mm-hmm. And like people don't.
And they kind of naturally created like, so someone say whiskey has a lot of rules, like in their group, where you can't necessarily like, I mean, like they don't promote like you talking bad about a cigar, or bourbon, say the bourbon, like you guys have created that organically in here to where like, Byers and I, because I know Hensley doesn't listen or watch this either. I'll tell this joke right now. When I first got back here, I had never had a Davidoff. You guys don't sell Davidoffs. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that, didn't get it. And but I'm watching a couple guys pull out Davidoffs regularly. And I'm like, okay, what's the deal here? And considering one of them was Hensley, I started joking with Byers. I was like, is this Davidoff thing like the drinking my tea with my pinky in the air? I mean, exactly. What are we doing here? And then you actually got me some Davidoffs, and you were like, hey, try this. You need to do this. And now that's literally Byers and I's like running joke, like if we're in there, like pinky in the air. It's like our little like gang sign to each other, over there. But I mean, to each their own. Like nobody knocks anybody for like what they enjoy and what they do, as long as you're supporting the lounge and being a part. And again, you've created an atmosphere where, and Brandon and I have talked about this a lot, where you can participate without contributing. And there's a lot of people that's fine. They want to participate. They don't really care to contribute. You're going to probably feel like you're a little out of place if you don't ever contribute around here. In the sense of like bringing something to the table. If it's just all about you and you don't really contribute and you just participate, you probably won't fit in around here a whole lot or for very long. But you guys have organically created this where people want to participate and contribute. Like, even if it's not their cup of tea because they don't know much about cigars, someone else coming here with their charcuterie boards or something, and they're sharing that with you and their knowledge of that because you're telling them about a cigar and sharing that cigar with them.
Now,
It's
clear
a give
one
and
thing
take.
up for us on what you're saying. Pops, I want you to clear up, just from what we're saying, I don't want anybody to get the perception that you have to be of a certain class or live in Frisco or anything like that to come in here, because it's nothing like that. When we said about that person coming in and seeing they don't fit in, it is because of the internal attitude. Has nothing to do with the building.
Yeah.
But I want you to speak on we don't have a type. When I said people know how to act, that's just plain old fashioned respect and common sense. But if you would walk into the lounge, what would you two say the general makeup of what's the word I'm looking for I used to use in radio? The demographic.
The demographic.
What would the demographic be? How would you guys explain that?
Probably 80-20 male, with females growing much faster. Our expansion is going to increase that to where I think it's going to be females will be a third of our business because of the way that it's being designed. I think I saw the perfect scenario. This goes back, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, right as COVID was happening. I walked out front. Guy that I had just met, first time in, was a judge. He's sitting out there with the owner of an insurance company and a guy that just got fired from Popeyes. A black guy, a Hispanic guy, and a white guy. All completely different universes that they come from. And those three looked like they had known each other for years. Yeah. And they had just met. And that, to me, it stopped me as I walked out the back, walking out towards the front. It stopped me, and I just got this feeling like that's what this shop is about.
Yeah.
So I would want to sit down and talk to the person that says, I walked in and I didn't feel comfortable. Because I want to know what it is. What do you think comfortable is?
Yeah.
And can you actually find comfort? Some people just are never happy, or they're never satisfied, or I coach youth sports long enough to know you can't make everybody happy. So I think there are probably people that there is a group of cigar smokers out there that feel because they bought some of these online that they're entitled to use it in a place that allows this to happen. So, so we have people every once in a while that'll walk in and they'll pull out the cigar that they got and they'll just start smoking it, thinking that, well, why can't I? I have this and you guys have a cigar lounge. Why can't I just smoke what I've got?
Yeah.
A lot of those, there are a lot of places in town that don't care. What we will do is not throw you out, but what we'll do is say, look, what keeps our lights on is the sale of cigars. That's our only means of revenue. So we want you to be able to smoke your cigars with the lights on and the television on and the DirecTV on and the Sunday ticket and all that other stuff. So when you're ready, finish your cigars, but let's take you in the humidor and let me show you something that you might like as much or better. And then once we get that opportunity, that's it. That's the world's largest challenge in cigar lounges is this. There's a group of people that, I have a steak in my fridge, but I can't take it to D. Lincoln and say, hey, do me a favor, cook that for me medium rare, have all the stuff done, make sure your people wait on me, and I don't want to actually pay for it.
Yeah.
It just, for some reason it happens here. You wouldn't walk into the Cowboys Club with this and go, will you pour this for me in your glass and your ice and have your staff take care of that for me? I have the bottle. Don't worry, I'm not going to buy anything. But for some reason in cigars, that happens. So I think for the most part, our community polices that. Our customers will go, hey man, you need to go in and buy a cigar.
Yeah.
And I love that in the fact that I think that's what keeps the fences around the corral, so to speak. But, you know, I think that in the end, our demographic is everyone is accepted. Everyone has, I don't care where your knowledge level is, where you're at in your cigar journey, / spirits journey. I don't care where you're at. We're just going to help you. And I've created this visual of a cigar journey being the ladder and a whole crowd of people wandering around the outside of it trying to figure out how to get on the ladder and make that journey, climb that ladder. We want to help you get on the ladder. You just have to want to. If all you want to do is just go through the motions of smoking a cigar, you know, you could do that. Save $1 and go buy it on the internet and go home and do it. That's all you have to do. If you want to experience the culture, let us get you on the ladder, and we'll help you climb. You're climbing it, whether you see it or not. When you sit with Oliver Nichols, the owner of German Engineered Cigars, for hours, you took significant steps up the ladder of your journey because now you've got that. And like you said earlier, we get to provide that. You'll never know who you're sitting next to.
I mean, you can walk in here and I mean, like, it's not uncommon to walk in and see athletes, entertainers, and I mean, like, that are here having meetings with other members and stuff. And, you know, it's not even shocking anymore. I mean, it was shocking the first time one of the first times I got, hey, have you been to the back yet? And I walk back here and Des Bryant's sitting back here. I mean, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, Des
my first time was Jalen Smith.
Here.
I went down, sat next to him, and I looked there, and I was with me and Pop's like, I looked at, hey, you know who you are? He's like, I hope so. And then we got to talking about car stereos. Yeah. And it was off. Like, it was no
But I was saying,
deal.
like, you guys have created this atmosphere. I mean, that's why this podcast happens. You know, in all honesty, I mean, I told a little bit about it earlier, but, I mean, you guys were kind of my inspiration behind this. Like, I fell in love doing the podcast with you guys. I was, like, one of the first person to get invited back to back almost. Like, I mean, there's only a couple weeks in it, and I was like, I'm addicted. Like, I got to do this. And really, a lot of that came from the fact that I was sitting around having very engaging, good, self-growth, blah, 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 great conversations with people of all walks of life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so many people are missing out on this opportunity. Maybe if I start sharing this, you know, A, hopefully it gets more like good quality people here at the lounge. B, I learn more. I engage more. I make new friends. I make new acquaintances. You know, I make new business opportunities. You know, seeing how all that comes together. And I mean, I've said it several times on here as well. Things that people turn away from in public, in a business, home life, the news, that you just don't feel comfortable talking about. Like, because everybody knows you bring this up, it's going to be on.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen up here.
Well,
I mean, you talk about how you're impressed there's no fights. We rib each other. We have conversations. We have in-depth. I mean, we've had conversations about race, religion, racism, all these hot topics that people just say you can't talk about. And but yet we all do in this common thing, a cigar. For whatever reason, the cigar, the spirits, you start enjoying that and kind of having that self-meditation of enjoying a cigar and committing 2 hours to unwinding. And it opens up those channels. For whatever reason, people all of a sudden become comfortable
I'll add to that.
Just rolling.
We've had debates. There's been arguments, there's been disagreements, but everybody polices themselves. They'll catch themselves, they'll calm themselves down. If two individuals disagree that much and start to elevate, they will get up, go outside, discuss it. They're not fighting, they just don't want to be out there hollering and screaming inside of here. They squash it, they have a drink, they have a cigar, they keep it moving. Yeah. And that goes back to you realizing where you're at. It's kind of like if you've ever watched John Wick, The Hotel, there's no assassinations or whatever on these grounds. It's the same thing here.
Yeah.
We don't bring religion in and all that stuff. Now, we may have discussions about all those things, but they're not disagreements to where see my way. It's more of, I found education. So if I don't know something about your culture, can you tell me about it? Can you educate me to this? I went here and something happened. Why did that happen? Oh, well, let me tell you why. Next time you go, do this. You know, and it's nothing but elevation.
Yeah,
it's
and
the ladder.
Furthermore on that, Larry brought up a great point. Larry Adams is one of our...
I was just gonna comment about that.
Larry brings up, I don't always know what people do for a living here. I mean, and for the longest time, like I said, I mentioned this earlier, I didn't know Brandon was Go Locals. I thought Brandon just worked at the lounge. I thought most of the Frakes boys, short of Andrew, I knew Andrew did golf stuff. But like half of the people up here, Biz, for the longest time, I thought Biz was just a DJ that came in around times. I'd see him come in and out. I assumed you just owned the lounge and were retired. No idea that you still do your day-to-day job and all this other stuff. Excuse me. That's not something we really talk about up here. I mean, it comes up naturally in conversation, but nobody has... It's not like when you're out at other networking events, even when you guys have networking events, where people are like, so, Dave, what do you do for a living? How much money do you make? What kind of car do you drive? Let me see your keychain. And, then they're doing all this judging and trying to put people in boxes. Like, that doesn't even happen. I mean, there are still, even though there's only, 50 members in the private lounge, I maybe know what 20 of those people do for a living.
Yeah.
I still don't know what half of them do. I mean, it's not a prerequisite for a conversation. Right. And you guys have made it that way from the get-go. Like, eventually what you do is probably going to cut up. I mean, I did 10 episodes almost before we ever talked about what I do for a living.
And the funny thing is, we were going to start the whole thing about what you do for a living.
Right.
We never got there.
We never even got there because it was the conversations that were worth having and who we had on.
And look at
it didn't matter.
The show that we do after this, Cigar Talk Live, started as Cigar 101s.
Yes, newbies.
And we would sit down and we would just do Cigar 101 segments. Well, you realize after about 10 episodes, you covered everything from humidification to how to smoke a cigar or pick a cigar. And then the conversations got deeper. And I want to add something because you brought up Larry and something that had been going through my mind. Again, as you talk about the people that are here, this was a guy that was always first on our show on Saturday.
Same.
Would always say good morning from LaGrange, Missouri.
Yep.
I would always make a point of, pointing out Missouri and Brandon and I got in an argument where it was located and all this other stuff. But after a year of watching the show, the guy gets in his truck and drives 10 and a half hours with his incredible wife, Julie. They drive 10 and a half hours to just come here and hang out. And what was the coolest part of that was when they walked in, they're like, you're JJ, you're Rob, and there's Ty. It's because they saw our community in the background
in the show
buzzing around. And they came in and they had this chance to see him. But do you know how humbling it is for somebody to drive the distance of Omaha to here to just come and hang out for a weekend and turn around and drive back? It's very humbling. But
when we met them, because I met them when they said, they drove that far, we was talking, but it's like they've always been here. Like Larry, even though you're virtual, it's like when he walked in, he's always been here. I mean, like in no time. It's not about fitting in. It's just that he belonged.
We have another Kevin Amick down in Georgia, the same way. Came in via someone say whiskey.
Yeah.
But, here's a guy that when I said we were going on vacation to Savannah, Georgia, he sent me a direct message, said, it's only 3.5 hours from where I'm at. I'll come meet you. I'm like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's humbling to think that somebody would, because I've put myself in that. What the hell am I going to do that I'm going to drive 10 and a half hours to get someplace? I don't like driving to freaking Addison, and it's 16 minutes away. But
if your car needs some miles put on it, just let me know anytime. I'll go run around the block for you.
I've tried.
I'm just saying. He doesn't like driving. I know it needs to be ran regularly. Just saying. I'll throw that out there for you. Any of them. Any of the ones you got in storage or anything. I'll help you out as your friend.
I appreciate you guys
as your friend.
I was gonna wash it, everything.
Yeah.
I just
detail it.
You guys are just like the IRS. You're just here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go. So my turn to do my job. Curveball. Something I don't think has never been done.
Oh, I have.
I like this.
Tell me something about us we don't know.
Tell us something about us.
Not where the body. Tell us something about you.
Okay.
That we don't know. Like when you're not doing cigars, when you're not golfing. I can't say movies and TVs because you give me all the dope shows to watch. There has to be something else about you that you do that you really like. If you're not here.
Is this like the 3 questions down into one? Because we tried to come up with the 3 questions.
Yeah, we couldn't think of 3 of them. Because we know so much about you.
Yeah.
But what is, like me, I tell everybody, I freak everybody out that I build model train sets. They be like, huh? Yeah, I love model trains. Because my grandfather was a porter on the Union Pacific Railroads, and I've been around trains all of my life. So when I got bored, I started building model train sets, and I love it. And things like that. So what is something about Dave Pops Frakes that we may not know?
Now, a lot of this goes back to when I was in Nebraska, but I had a couple of interesting twists. I coached youth football for 6 years and watched 3 drunk former college players that decided they were going to coach a bunch of 9, 10, 11-year-old players. And I would watch them scream and punish and make these weaker players run constantly for making an error in a play. And me and another dad he was smoking cigars. We're sitting down at the end, and it was kind of like, well, which kid's yours? The one getting yelled at right now. Which kid's yours? The one that just got yelled at. And we would just sit there and watch every practice. And one day, one of the coaches is arguing. He's at this point so drunk that in the middle of the team huddle, he throws up. Wow. So, I looked over at Jeff and I said, "Come to find out, Jeff lived like a block away from me." I go, "Will you take the defense?" And he goes, "Yep." I go, "I'll be right back." And I walked up to these guys. I go, "Give me your whistle." I added some color to it. "Give me your whistle. You guys are done." And they're like, "What? You're done. You're not coming to practice. You're not going to be drunk in front of these kids. Get out." "All right, fine." Throws a whistle at me. And then we took the team. I find out that this team had only the older group of kids. They hadn't come close to winning a game. They hadn't come close to scoring a touchdown. And their only claim to fame is they got a first down. A first down. Yeah. So that was the team I took over. And we ended up having 3 separate teams. And over that time, I think we got to expose a bunch of kids to the enjoyment of the game. But we viewed it as an opportunity to show kids that they're going to come to a fork in the road where they're going to make a decision whether they're going to be quitters or not. And some of the things that fell out of coaching youth football, besides the fact that parents suck, is that I remember having a kid he was so heavy. He was about this tall. He looked like what are the Star Wars characters that are all furry?
Oh, Ewoks.
Ewoks. He looked like that, just not as furry. But because of the weight limits, he had to play with the 12 and 13-year-olds when he was 9 because he weighed about 180 pounds. So he's playing with these guys, and they're destroying him. And I remember sitting on a tackling dummy with him and just saying, you know what? His name was Bradley. I said, Bradley, I'll never forget this kid. This is a point in life where you're going to decide whether you're going to stand up and fight no matter what. If you lose, keep getting up. Or we'll just take you home and you can do what your mom and dad do. What's your dad do? He's a hairdresser.
Yep.
Okay. What's your mom do? I don't know. All right, well, why don't you clear your own path? So we had this conversation. At this point, he's telling me his leg is broken and his hand is broken, which they weren't. He just didn't want to go back out. So we got him to go back out. Fast forward, and I'm actually standing in the lobby at Burger King, and I feel this thud up against me. And I turn around, and it's now a 6 foot tall, still thick Bradley in his Millard South football stuff. And he's like, I stuck with it, coach. And this was a kid that I figured was going to become a hairdresser. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong, that there's anything wrong with being a hairdresser, but I didn't see this kid going down that path. So that to me was very rewarding. I always said I did it. For a big part, it was a pain in the ass factor. But I always said I wanted the best seat in the house to watch my kids play. But we focused on leadership and finding ways to get kids conditioned so that they would enjoy conditioning instead of running the lines. We'd play kill the man with the ball. You don't realize you got 3 kids that are running their asses off for 3-4 minute bursts, and they're learning cutting angles, and they're learning tackling, and they're learning all this stuff. And they couldn't wait to do it. But if you said, all right, guys, on the line, they'd all start pissing and moaning.
Yeah.
And we had kids that went on to play at Nebraska and some other stuff, and that was a really rewarding time. So, yeah, football coach for little snot bubblers was a fun time.
First time I've ever heard the story. You got an exclusive.
I got a few for him. I got a few. I think we're gonna get some other first.
He opened up his notebook, so you may be.
I saw the notebook open.
You saw that. I got.
There
were
words written down. I'm nervous now.
Yeah. So I'm also told you know the best way to change a microwave.
I do, and it is. I think the concept of shutting the power off is for suckers, and it's for people that are not expecting any kind of adventure in their life. But yeah, I was mounting a over-the-counter microwave and didn't shut the power off and ground it out. My fingers exploded, and I remember waking up and my head was in the dishwasher with blood pouring out, and I'm like,
"This is where Andrew
what's going
gets
on
his
here?
phone.
You know what's happening?" But yeah, it jolted. But yeah, the old thing that your life flashes before your eyes. That didn't happen. The only thing that happened was something is going on here that's not good. Get out. And I backed up and blacked out. And
that's one of my biggest fears. I absolutely despise being shocked. Shocking. I'm so out on. I am literally the guy you just described a minute ago almost that even though I worked for a lighting manufacturer and when Lee Lighting would have their display rooms, when I was 18, I was in charge of making sure they had all the latest models up and that I did their inventory, made sure that all the models up, and if they didn't have a model, I put it up in the lighting room. Do you know what the electrical wiring's like in a Lee Lighting showroom? I'm just saying, there's no way that stuff is OSHA. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Sorry to burst y'all's bubble, but I can't tell you how many times I was shocked putting up a wall sconce, a ceiling mount, that I'm just putting on this faux finished wall that has some wiring and tapping into it. But I am literally that person that I will shut off the entire breaker panel of the house to change out a ceiling fan. Yeah. That's how much I hate getting shocked.
I didn't. I have since then learned that lesson. But no, that sucked. And then I got an intern at the doctor's office that was injecting lidocaine or whatever it is to numb it out. My doctor, after the fact, told me when I told him it was worse than the electrocution part, he said, you just inject it at the base of your fingers, then they can go in and stitch it up. It numbs the whole thing. she injected it into the open wound. And it literally, I thought she was lighting my hand on fire. And Nate was in the room with me. I squeezed his hand so hard he started crying because I was breaking his fingers. But yeah, it was. Is
that two of us that are about to be on the floor?
Yeah,
over
that was no joke.
All right, and I have no idea where this one's going, but I'm supposed to ask you about bananas. I have no idea what that comes to, but
I'm a big believer in shock value to discipline kids and to just let them know you're always in charge. And we were going to we had a car full of little preteen little shits in the back of my SUV, and Brandon made a comment. We were on our way to like the Halloween store, and Brandon made some little smart ass comment, and he said, "I want to be a banana." So instead of saying, "You don't want to be a banana," or "Why do you want to be a banana," or "That's stupid," I just smacked him in the face. And
which he still does as an adult, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody in that car, it went dead silent. And Brandon was trying to decide whether he was going to cry or laugh or shut his mouth or whatever. But he was wondering, how does something so innocent turn into me getting smacked in the face? But shock value. I want to make sure I took the reins back at his preteen stage.
You're definitely going to be on our episode about parenting.
yeah,
I'm all in.
I can see that one. That was an interesting.
Man, we're going to write a book.
Yeah. And then the only other like really good one I have that I'm supposed to ask you about, and there's a caveat here, is I'm supposed to ask what Grandma was doing during this, but I'm supposed to ask about a bowling alley fight where you were punching somebody in the nuts.
Yep.
And Grandma's doing something. I don't. This is just the ammo that I was given.
Yeah. Well, we were at a bowling alley. And things were getting out of hand. I'll just say it that way. Things were getting a little out of hand. We had bowled. The whole family was bowling. Everybody's in the bar. And a guy that we were with, on his way out the door, there was this quasi-attractive girl standing at the edge of the bar. I'm sure there to find, a mate. And he took his bowling ball, drunk, took his bowling ball and was going to simulate that he was going to throw the ball to her. But it let go and it hit her in the chest.
Oh.
So we get outside. We're all leaving. We get outside, and somebody in their crowd thought that it was me. And the guy started getting in my face and what's going on, and you threw the bowling ball at my girlfriend. I'm like, man, that wasn't me. And all of a sudden, it was this big guy, and he threw the bowling ball and hit her right in the chest. Look, it wasn't me. Well, all hell breaks loose. Well, my mom's there. My dad's there. My dad, he was actually, we were doing these things called, like tequila, some kind of tequila thing that it had like tequila
shooter.
But you smashed it on the table, and it would get fizzy, and then you'd drink it. My dad was getting to a point where he would just miss the whole table, just throwing the shit on the ground. And so everybody was lit, and all of a sudden guys start coming in from the parking lot, and I see them carrying things. I'm thinking this is not going to end well, and all of a sudden the guy that was giving me shit was gone because one of my buddies came in from the side, tackled him from the side, took him out of the picture. But my mom, in an effort to try to get people to stop fighting, was screaming like somebody was hitting her. So I saw this guy over by her, so I ran, and I did like one of these, it was like a movie shot. I jumped over the hood of her car, air tackled this guy, and he's covering his face up. But he left his crotchal region wide open, so I just started wailing on his nuts. And my mom is acting like she's knocked out now at this point. She's just doing it to try to get people to stop. But all of a sudden, word gets out, somebody hit Mickey, they knocked her out. Well, then all our guys start going crazier. And I'm thinking people are going to die. I mean, this thing, all hell is breaking loose. All this because my mom's over playing possum, trying to get this thing to shut down. My dad just like up against the car, sliding off and just sliding down. Well, people thought he got hit. He didn't get hit. He couldn't stand up. And the car was freshly waxed. So his ass just slid and fell on the ground. So I got my parents were on the ground. I'm wailing on this dude's nuts, and the guys were coming out of everywhere. But that was it. That, you know, it's just a Nebraska bowling alley fight. I mean, it happens every Saturday. So it just this time we were in the middle of it, and thank God I had a bunch of my friends that were there that they had better crowbars, I guess. I don't know, but it was my brother, who's not real smart at all. He reached in the back of his truck and he pulls out a bottle of shampoo because he had worked out that day. Pulls out a bottle of shampoo, knowing that the lights in the parking lot were going to cause this flash of light on this thing. And he's going, freeze, I swear to God, I'll shoot you guys, with the bottle of shampoo. And people are like, he's got a gun. And they're taking off running. It was a freaking bottle of shampoo. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
See, that's
funny.
That's a Nebraska bowling night, but ours would have ended in gunfire for real. Several shots.
Nah, your
fired.
grandma would have shown up and the streets would have cleared.
Oh, bruh, that's.
I know that's a fact. I know that's a fact.
Oh, is that a brown Nova coming up?
Run.
It's
Yeah.
Mildred.
Yeah.
They knew her car. Like
I believe it after all the stories I've heard, man.
No, I think, and Biz will know will appreciate this because he knows the area very well. But one of the things that people don't know about me is I grew up in the hood.
Yep.
Until I was 12 years old. I grew up in the hood.
4 blocks from me.
Yep. And so, yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that there is, I mean, I've never seen color my entire life because, I mean, every friend I had was black until I was 12 and got moved out to West Omaha. It was just, man, I just, that's how I grew up. I grew up when real racism, I mean, I don't want to say real racism like there isn't racism today.
Yeah.
But
it was very, very
the
prominent.
riots in the late 60s, I mean, that stuff was happening real close to us where, you know, they were just doing it because they hated anybody of color.
Yeah.
This was, you know, now there's more picking on people and individual things that they do. But this was back when there's just pure hatred.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, hanging out with friends and they were confused. So now I'm confused at 8 years old why they're confused. You know, what did we do, you know? And that was the environment that I grew up in. So
that was the same for me growing up. Like, started out different, but then when my dad lost his job, it's the same thing. I grew up in the ghetto of Wichita, Kansas, and until we moved to Olathe, that was a little better.
Yeah. And
then we moved to Connecticut, and now I'm living in Glastonbury, Connecticut, where there's like generational wealth, and then there's the really poor.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, you know.
I got a good friend to this day that still lives in Olathe.
Yeah. Olathe a cool town. I'd go by there. Wichita's the only place I don't know that I'll ever go
Olathe is Millard.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it now.
Yeah. Where it's at in Overland Park, Kansas, in that area.
Yep. I lived in Millard, actually. My kids went to Millard South before we moved here. But even in the early, mid-2000s, when we moved to Millard, there was only maybe 3 black families in my whole neighborhood. And we bought the biggest house by accident. It was for sale. I didn't know. And like I said, people thought we were drug dealers for like the first year. There's no way this black dude has a Avalanche, BMW, an Impala, and an undercover cop car was outside of my house for 2 weeks watching us move. And we had Mrs. Kravitz that lived next door.
Oh, yeah.
And it took for one of her kids recognizing that I was the guy from the radio. And then the minute they said, oh, him? And Justin Timberlake, it was NSYNC still. And she came over with the welcome to the neighborhood pie and had the nerve to ask me for tickets to the show. You called the cops on me and I gave her those tickets though.
Yeah.
I was being the bigger man. And she ended up being one of our closest friends and neighbors and apologized. Not till we moved to Dallas, but 9 years later, she apologized because she seen the U-Haul and was like, don't go. Somebody worse may move in. I don't know how worse is going to be. Okay. But I played the role, though. I made sure that I was going to be the stereotype to the nth letter. We moved in. I came home every night with 4 12-inch subwoofers blaring. I bought a Rottweiler. I would walk him in the middle of the street every day. It was fun. It was fun. Just play on into the stereotype, and then we all got cool, and it is what it is.
Well, I want to dive into this a little bit because I think you're going to have some great input on this. I mean, not only do I consider you a very close friend, but I also kind of look at you as a mentor. And I know you've done a lot of mentoring for people, and you've raised 3 amazing children that are, each in their own lane, successful at completely different things. What are some of the things you always instilled in them or taught them to do that you feel like have really helped them along their journey in life, that have bred those type of things, like that have inspired those type of things in them?
Man, that could go a number of different ways. I think, of course, you always tell them to believe in yourself. They're the first to say that I never hit them, but
the fear of God.
There was a fear there that was that kept them honest. I think that if you're a parent raising multiple kids, if you're about to discipline one, get the rest of them down there so that they can watch. Because, there's been multiple times that I had 2 boys crying because they're watching their other brother get his ass chewed out for doing something stupid. But I thought, let's just kill 3 birds with 1 stone here. At least I can check this stupid act off the list for the other 2.
Yeah.
So, but, I think overall was, I was always the guy that just, kids will make mistakes. And I think just constantly, and honoring this, which was, you get 1 chance to tell me the truth. And if you tell me the truth, you may still get in trouble, but what could happen to you is not, or what will happen is nothing compared to if I find out you lied to me.
Yep. And I had that same policy with my father.
So that, and be consistent with that. I think from, when the kids went to school, I always said, look, I'll pay for your school, but if you fail, I'm sending you the bill. And 2 of the boys got in their first semesters. They called. They said, we failed. And I'm like, well, I need your address, and I need to know where to send the bill. I'll get it turned around. Nate went from struggling to, making academic All-American and breaking school records and all this stuff in track, and still being a college athlete and still accomplish that. So, I think that those guys who are internally wired for success. I think I owe a lot to Brandon, because Brandon was hard on them, and he's an old soul. He's definitely when he was a kid, he wasn't a kid. So he did a good job. I also raised the kids from when the twins were 4, Brandon was 6, until my wife got into their life at about 12 or 13. So I can't stress how important a father in kids' lives is, whether it's part-time or full-time, but commit. I've seen people that think that raising kids is an inconvenience should have never had kids in the first place, and those kids are destined for shit. Yeah. And I always looked at it, this is the hardest job I'm ever going to have, is raising 3 good men. And but that was my goal. And that's why I really, at this point in my life, very content, because I did raise 3 good men. My goal was accomplished. And I know that their kids will be great humans. And I think that, so there is this certain content, but I think that they realize now that that when I was gone, they knew I was working, and now that they're working, they appreciate it, and they appreciate and work hard. So, you know, they have a work ethic. They have a motor that's different than mine. They can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning and go work out. I don't have that gene, but
he'll do it for golf though.
I'll do it for golf,
and he'll harass the shit out of you if you ain't going to.
Exactly. But no, I think, and I think the other thing is with kids, a lot of people, you know, if their kid's good at math, or they parents will push them in that direction. I just always instilled on kids to be creative. For my kids, be creative. Question the why. Why is this way? And pointed out to them that everything that we are standing around, can touch and feel, started as an idea. So this ashtray was an idea one time. Somebody said, we need something other than dropping ashes on the floor that we can use to collect. This was an idea. And, you know, so always challenge, always come up with these ideas. And I think if you teach kids ideas and creativity, if they become accountants, if they become marketing people, if they become laborers, they're going to use creativity to solve their problems. And I now looking at my kids' body of work, they're all in their 30s. They are that way.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I don't know how many parents think about, you know, giving kids 3 things and some tape and say, make something out of this, and just let them try to create the solution. I love it whenever I mean, to me, MacGyver was my hero. I mean, the guy could figure out how to get an airplane started with a toothpick and some duct tape. So I'm all in for that guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there's more reward to that. There are people that can take a blank piece of paper and turn it into magic. And then there's people out there that'll pay for that magic because they don't have that skill set. Busy lives that every day. And, you know, so just don't think with limits, and realize that there's really, I've always instilled on the kids that there's no such thing as failure. There's success and there's lessons.
So that's actually where I was going with this next. What are some of the biggest failures you've had that were great life lessons that you are thankful that happened, that maybe at the time, or maybe you have some specific examples, and maybe one comes to mind of a failure that led to something greater?
Oh, I was convinced in 1984 that personal computers were going to be the future. And for that vision, I was right. But I thought I'd open a retail computer store and realized real quick I didn't understand accounting. I didn't understand inventory. I didn't understand cash management. I didn't understand anything. I just understood how to stand in front of some stuff and sell it. So from that standpoint, so I opened a computer store. I was the first Apple dealer in Omaha. Steve Jobs was actually the sales rep that came out because he was calling on the Omaha Public Schools at the time. That was the Apple IIe
I remember that.
Was a big thing. Wow. But Commodore 64s and those things were it. And I opened a store and undercapitalized and went out of business. But what's interesting was the next job that I got because I had started a business, and the owner of that business said that hired me was, I know that you'll commit. So the fact that he viewed my entrepreneurial spirit as somebody that's willing to commit to something and pull something that, you know, pull down a road that hasn't been mowed yet is something we'll do. Since then, I started I worked in the corporate world. I was in the consumer electronics industry for the better part of my life. From 1981 to 2001, I was in the consumer electronics industry.
You got a cool Teddy Ruxpin store?
I got a cool Teddy Ruxpin store. I had the first $250,000 prototype Teddy Ruxpin that I didn't know what it was, so I left it with the buyer, and they shit because it was the only one in existence. But yeah, I got to be a rep. I got to travel. I got to go to Bose. I was a Bose rep for a while. I got to meet AMR Bose. I got to meet these people, and I just kept learning. Kept learning when I went to Panasonic, and then actually ran a record label for a couple of years, and then started another
kind of
company.
record label?
It was American Gramophone, which is Mannheim Steamroller. It's Christmas music, but he sells a lot of it, and I was convinced that he could sell it in other places other than record stores and Target and Walmart.
Yeah.
So ended up creating a non-traditional channel, and they did a story on it in Time Magazine because we had placed it in 68,000 different retail outlets that had never sold music before. So it was fun. I started my own consulting firm when I had other companies that wanted to do the same thing, but I maintained American Gramophone as my first client, and then got hired away by a friend that had an oil company down here. I knew how to put gas in my car, but I didn't know the oil business. But I knew people, and I knew sales, and I understood managing people. So came down and have done that, and still do it every day. So that, combined with the no fear thought of hopefully a third time's a charm and having my own business.
Did you go to college?
No, I didn't go to college.
Me neither.
And I'm glad I didn't. And I think
too.
that there are a lot of people that quote unquote are successful that didn't. But I had actually enrolled at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I was going to do marketing. And I'm meeting with this marketing guy, and he's like, "So what do you do? What do you do to make money to go to school?" I said, "Well, I work at World Radio, which is a stereo store." And he's like, "Can you make money there?" I said, "Well, I don't know. This is 1980. I don't know. I've made, this was through June. I've made $38,000 so far." But I said, "I'm really excited about Christmas." And he goes, "Well, you make more money than I do. You should probably do that." So I just started selling, and I was running some of their stores and had fun with it. And then got hired away by a speaker manufacturer to be a rep. And 50,000 miles a year in a Ford Taurus, driving back and forth across the state of Iowa and Nebraska. But it put a roof over our heads.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I've been able to come down here, and I don't equate money with success. Wealth is your family. True wealth is the quality of your family. And so right now I'm the richest guy in Dallas, and but my account's my account's not as high as some of the other people in Dallas. But my inventory of good family members. My wife is salt of the earth, and
Begley's pretty awesome. I don't know how you pulled that off.
I don't either.
It's probably because you let her call you Pookie.
Well, there's that, and the fact that
he got it in. He got it in.
She's 14 years younger than I am. So when you do the math, I picked her up at grade school, and the rest is history. I'm gonna smoke one of these.
Yeah, let's smoke one.
Yeah.
It's about.
I know we're getting there.
Wasn't rushing you. I was just doing my job.
I know you're doing your job over there, but I mean, we got Pops with us, so if we make them run a little late, I mean, it's no big deal.
Oh, we'll get our ass kicked.
I mean, we did 5 hours last week. I mean, I think we bought ourselves a few extra minutes. These are really cool too.
That is my favorite cigar right there, right now, as he knows.
It's top of the line right now. Like,
I don't know why I just didn't buy a box. I bought so many. I've bought a box. I should have just.
We've all bought a box of these pretty much, but we haven't bought a box.
Matter of fact, I'm saving 2 to take back to Omaha with me Friday. I'm gonna visit our friends at Safari.
Okay.
I'm gonna be like, hey, look at this, because the last time I did that, guess what they carry now? Good old Atabay.
Yep.
It costs you about $7,000 for one, but they
won't. At
least they
won't
learn
get any of these.
No, they won't get. No, that's bragging. That's going to be talking shit when I walk in with that one. But otherwise, yeah.
So, I will. Let me just say this
Yeah,
about if we could talk about a cigar for a second.
Yeah, let's do it.
we started Cigar Newbies, which is
I don't know how y'all do that.
that was
saying.
about I don't know 1,700 members, and for everybody that gets in, the equal number doesn't get in.
And how many get put out like pretty quickly?
If somebody goes in and starts, trying to sell Cuban cigars on, DM me and sell me Cubans or whatever. But there's a questionnaire that comes up when you first sign up, and it's what do you want to learn about cigars? And the overwhelming response is, I want to learn how to get the different flavors out of a cigar. So when people talk about it, and they do it in spirits all the time too, caramel and cedar and oak and this and that and the other thing. But the whole reason I brought this up is lighting this cigar is the epitome of the way smoking cigars really should be. And when I say what I mean by that is, when I take the first pull, it's just good.
It is, and it's all the way through.
Just, I mean, we've all, our whole life, our mom slid a plate of food in front of you, and you were either going to like broccoli or you weren't going to like broccoli. You were going to like macaroni and cheese or you weren't. And as we get older, we have opportunities to try other foods. There's some stuff you put in your mouth and you're like, God, I don't want this to end. This is so good. But when you never swallow it and go, I'm getting an oaky note, and I got some cedar, and I got this, and I got some citrus. You don't analyze it unless you're at dinner with Darren from Principal Cigars.
Yep.
He was doing like a tasting at Thanksgiving of the dressing. Mm-hmm. I'm noticing a little bit of celery, but I'm getting a little,
Is that paprika?
He's out there, right? But with a cigar, and it's the same thing with the spirit. I see so many guys that'll take a sip of spirits, they'll take a sip and they'll be like, oh, that's so smooth. They're not saying,
like
they're not saying, oh, that's so caramely. Oh, it's so citrusy. No, it's just good. And when you get a cigar that when you take a pull on it and you go, man, this is just good. And there's something that, now obviously it's igniting parts of your palate that other things that you've had in the past you like. Begley got this last weekend, chocolate milk. When's the last time you had chocolate milk? I had a sip of chocolate milk and I was like, God damn, why isn't this the only thing I drink? Because everything about it was smooth and creamy and it had that little bit of chocolate. But so while people are thinking about how do they get more sophisticated, they need to back up and think about how do I just enjoy this? Bam. If you smoke a cigar that doesn't cause you to salivate like this one is, if you get a cigar that's got pepper and you go, God, this is peppery, this is spicy, you're not enjoying it.
No.
But when you get a cigar like the Vanquier or from Principal, you get any of the Principal stuff, and you smoke it and you go, comfort. This is so good.
Relaxing.
And it just, you can climb in it. Now, what will come when time is grasping the nuances of cigars and how they change throughout the cigar.
I don't think that's important, though, and I'm glad you brought this up because I dove into this with Oliver last week when you guys were out. As Oliver, I asked him about how when he's trying to do a new blend and picking that out and putting things together and that whole process. And we talked about how after you guys come back from Vegas and we all sat around and smoked all these cigars and all that goes into that. And I don't want to rehash all of that, but it's the same thing I tell people with spirits, and it's the same applies to cigars. People get so caught up in trying because they see the hoity-toity or the fancy guys that are doing what you just described. I'm smoking the cigar, I'm getting caramel and gingerbread and all this, that. Or they're drinking a spirit and, I get roasted marshmallows and s'mores and all this stuff. And you're sitting there drinking it and going like, yeah, man, I like this, but I'm not getting any of that. Yeah. I mean, I'm at a huge disadvantage because I've broken my nose like 4 times. I've had reconstructive surgery twice. I don't smell as good as the average person.
Right.
So if I smell something, whether it's a spirit or a cigar, it's either going to be really strong or not at all. There's not a lot of
you're feeling it.
Yeah, I'm
you're feeling it more than you're tasting it.
So for me to try to sit and break down components of a lot of spirits, even when I get invited to go do these picks and help pick a barrel to put out as a bottle that's going to be a special release, I am not the guy sitting there that is like dissecting this to the umpteenth degree. Which one did I enjoy? The last pick I did, which was the Iron Root one. You guys saw the Iron Root guys on here for Noel Brabant's son that has NF. When it came down, like we unanimously decided on 2 barrels. And when it came down to those 2 barrels, I literally looked at Noel and I said, hey man, do you want something that the masses are going to really like because you're putting this out there and just trying to raise the most money? Or do you want to put something out that is truly unique and is a one-off, and that's what you want to put out there, and people are going to buy it regardless?
Right.
I mean, what do you want to do here? Are you wanting to go for unique, or you wanting to go for that one special one? He's like, yeah, that unique one. Mm-hmm. And we all agreed. It was that unique one. Like we were all dancing around those 2, but one was just this much better than the others. It's the same thing with cigars. Like I still can't tell you all the different shapes and sizes of cigars, and I butcher, this is a Churchill, or this is a Toro, or, I butcher that stuff all the time. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I sat and, a lot of people could say that. I sat with Oliver. We sat and enjoyed cigars. We talked about all kinds of complex stuff, even new stuff that some of us had never heard about, like wedding cigars and smoking them. You and I talked about this. Yeah. Like, never heard of that.
Never heard of
it. I mean, you go through those things. It wasn't about that. It was just about us sitting down and enjoying it and finding something to enjoy in it. There are those people that are going to sit and try to find something to either not enjoy or to dislike about something. And you know what? Those people weed themselves out. But I think in general, if people would quit trying to put everything into a box or a category and just go with right and wrong. I like this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
It served people a lot better.
No, yeah.
I've said this hundreds of times. This humidor here, this does not speak for all humidors, is so curated. There's one little section that has some stuff that you guys have to sell that I would tell people to veer away from.
Right.
Like, unless that's just your cup of tea. But everything else, you're going to try something. You may not love it, but you're not going to hate it. I mean, you might go through there like you just said a minute ago. You and I both are very sensitive to pepper.
Yep.
And I might grab that cigar and be like, man, I've tried, Dave. I smoked it to here, and man, it's just too much pepper for me. I'll sit down. I spent $10 on the stick. Go buy another one. What else can you do for $20? Say you bought 2 sticks.
Yeah, it's
one you just were like, meh. The other one you loved. You can walk away from that. There's nothing else you can do for 2-3 hours and spend $20.
Yep.
You just can't do it.
Yep, that's right.
All right, well, before Brandon comes in here and starts trying to beat both of us over the head, we're at that time. I have to ask you the question we end every show with. So, being this Common Sense the podcast, we ask every guest at the end of the show to give us their 2 cents. This can be your 2 cents about something you just want to talk about, be something inspired by the show, something you've been wanting to say, haven't said. Literally it could be anything, but it's your 2 cents. And then I have one follow-up question that I'm going to do with you after that.
Okay. I have not watched the end of your show, so I didn't know this was the question. So now I know how people feel when they come into Cigar Talk Live and don't know about the big 3.
Yeah.
So my 2 cents, maybe I'll call it advice. I made a decision at the beginning of this year, this calendar year, to not watch Fox News, to not pay attention to the political landscape.
Yep.
And just came to the realization, if you get thrown in a cage with a silverback gorilla, you're going to get your ass kicked, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. So So I just wondered what would happen to my peace of mind if I just ignored what was going on. And I have to pay attention to the energy sector because that's my job, my day job. But if I could give, as we go into 2023, if you want to end 2023 with a comfortable blood pressure level and not get yourself all twisted up, don't pay attention to the bullshit that's going on out there, because it's that silverback gorilla. It's going to be done beating your ass when it's done beating your ass.
Yeah.
You don't have any say. And they can all say that you can speak at the ballot box. Well, that happens once every couple of years, and you get your chance and you throw it at the wall and you see what happens. But I've elected not to participate. Every time I talk to my mom, she gets into, a political conversation. I know that's her every day. Just sitting there watching Fox and watching social media and watching all the other old people making comments about how the world's falling apart. If you just don't, if you just focus on the stuff that you can control, man, your blood pressure just stays in a nice, comfortable zone. So my 2 cents is, don't pay attention.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you one more question to follow up, since Brandon's poking his head in here, giving me the evil eye. But I feel like we got to end with this one. I did this last time too. But considering I think your kids probably have already heard this at some point, I'm going to say kids, but I'm also going to throw in the caveat of your grandkids.
Okay.
Because you have a lot of beautiful grandkids.
I do have beautiful grandkids.
So if you could leave your grandkids with one piece of advice, like this is your last chance, dying wishes, whatever, you could give them one piece of advice that you would hope that they would hear and really stick to, what would that piece of advice be?
Live your life with the highest integrity, character, and honesty. If you live your life with that, you might not make everybody happy, but you'll die with more friends at your funeral if you do it that way.
I agree. Well,
I'm putting that on a T-shirt.
Yeah. We're gonna mark the end of this for the 5-minute clips we're about to start pulling. But Dave, thank you so much for jumping on here with us.
Thanks for having me in. It's too bad Shaq couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah, he got the flu and couldn't come. But thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Proud to be a member here. I'm proud to know you guys. I'm proud to be able to call you guys friends. And it means the world to me to have you on here.
We're glad we have this mental institution, and you're one of our prize candidates.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Until next week, enjoy. We're going to have one more episode next week, and then we're going to wrap it till after the first of the year. So we've got one more special guest for you guys next week. And then again, we're going to let everybody enjoy the holidays, and we'll be back after the new year. But till next time, y'all enjoy it. Be safe.
Merry Christmas.